Pregame vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Same thing we do every night, Pinky.
We try to light the beam every night, wouldn't you say? What's going on? Kicking off a 7-game homestand. Kings-Grizzlies tonight. Coach Christie just took the podium. We'll listen to a little bit of what he has to say. Most important about who's in, who's out. No Ja Morant for the Grizzlies tonight. And I'll ask you, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He seems to help the Kings out when it comes to missing three-pointers, or at least he has in the 2 meetings this season. One guy that has not been very nice to the Kings, that's Jalen Wells, local product, second-round rookie who has just been playing out of his mind for the Grizzlies. Both teams come in kind of not so great. Kings 0-4 in their last 4. Grizzlies 3-5 3-2 in their last 5, 5-5 in their last 10. So we talk about it. We get your calls. Kings losing streak tonight because this is a difficult stretch. It's a good night to get a win and make sure that damn beam still works. Let's get to it. Welcome to the pregame show on If You Don't Like That.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now.
Who hacked my board? Who did that? Who was that? Was that Haunted Horse? Where did that come from? I mean, what was that? Is that a dance? Is that a seizure? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. Was that Vivek Ranadive? Huh. Really weird. Anyways, what's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great night. Kings and Grizzlies getting you ready for this one tonight. How you feeling about it? What are you thinking about with this one? We're going to hear from Doug Christie here in just a little bit. Domas's hamstring, is that an area of concern? If you are the Kings, let me know in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Happy to have you here. We've got a big show, a big night of basketball here on the channel. Obviously, beginning now with the pregame show. Don't forget about Mr. Jerry Reynolds joining us at the half. Looking forward to having him on, getting some score predictions and also some keys to the second half. Hopefully, we are talking about a competitive game and a good second half. And post-game, taking your calls. We'll be here for it. Win or lose. Hopefully, we are talking about the being lit. Either way, we got your back. Give Grant and I a call later tonight, and we will chop it up as the Kings begin their longest home stretch, the second half of the season. After this, the Kings they've got 24 hours to get to the East Coast, and that's your last significant stretch of basketball. You come home for 3 games after that. 1 or 2 are probably going to matter because you see Phoenix and the Clippers, Denver, who knows what they'll be doing, but much basketball in between now and then. Let's look how it sets up tonight for the Kings and the Grizz. Here's who's in, here's who's out, here's what the teams do well. While we look at that, let's hear from head coach Doug Christie, who just took the podium about, give or take 15 minutes ago. Here was Doug on how the team is feeling.
All of that, man. We're doing all that, actually. In a really good place, actually. had a good practice, really good conversations, direction-wise, a lot of good stuff. The spirit of these guys is tremendous. It keeps rising to the top, which is a really good thing. And this is the NBA. It's tough. You're gonna face this. Like, this is actually more about the opportunity than it is about, well, woe is me, man. This is a tough stretch. So we could look back on this stretch and go, man, it really defined us. We could look back and it was tough when we learned a lot about ourselves. We will never look back and say, man, well, really what happened? Because whatever happens, we're going to learn and we're going to grow. Yeah.
Doug, Jalen Wells obviously having an incredible season as
Yeah.
a rookie for Memphis.
Oh boy.
Just curious, just your tie to the community here obviously comes from here. How much did you know about him beforehand?
I actually played with him at Country Day with my son. I go there on the weekends and play with Dave Ankrum. And we teach a lot of kids how to play, from kids who just picked up basketball to professionals and college players like himself. So I watched him along the way, and super happy for his success. He's done one heck of a job, man. Like, a really good player.
Is it, just following up on that, does this maybe this season, his rookie season, and the impact he's had with that team that's obviously really good, is that taking you by surprise in any way, just given the journey that he's had, been a little bit obviously unconventional?
No, one thing about our league, like, if you got game, you're gonna find your way. You know, and you also have to have the confidence. You got to get the breaks. There's a lot of things that go with it, but he's a young player that works hard. He believes in himself. He got opportunity, and he's taken full advantage of it. And he plays on both ends of the floor. And when you do that, you give yourself multiple opportunities to get on the floor, not just on one end of the floor. Yeah.
Hey, Doug, you have any?
Yeah, that Jalen Wells guy, he has played a quote-unquote Keegan Murray role from Keegan's rookie year against the Kings so far in the first two meetings between these teams. This is the third and final meeting between the Kings and the Grizz, so it will determine the tiebreaker. If you remember the game in Memphis, I believe that was the one that the Kings got, and then the Grizzlies came into Sacktown, and Jalen Wells starred in that one. No, excuse me. Did the Kings win that one? We'll go over it here in a second. But regardless, a lot of work to do. And look, it starts with these guys. It starts right here on the practice floor. You can't have 19 turnovers for 38 points against any team in the NBA. And that's what happened in Phoenix. And we could go one step further behind that. What about the three-point shooting? Been talking about the three-point attempts coming down. Well, Memphis, they're 14th in the NBA at 37.8 attempts per game. Is that going to be way higher tonight? Are the Kings going to find a different way to work in a different rotation? If you remember the last time these two teams met, this was the game where Doug Christie actually changed the starting lineup. He threw Keon Ellis in at the last second, which caused Memphis to swerve and take Zach Edey out of the starting lineup. With Zach Edey in, makes me think, are the Kings going to maybe try to go a little bit of a double big look tonight? They did get that practice time yesterday, which was valuable. They need it. Sabonis was a participant, but I do wonder a little bit about that hamstring. And if the Kings are going to be able really to muster enough offense. If we think about the offensive numbers over the past 5 games, let me give them to you. Or excuse me, the last 4 games. 106 last game against Phoenix, 104, 104, and then 110 against the Clippers. And that was an overtime game. So the Kings need to find a way to get on the same page. And whether that's giving Zach LaVine all the space in the world to operate and say, don't even think about passing the ball, my man. Go score. If you don't got something, swing the ball. Whether that's getting back to the pick and roll game with Domantas Sabonis and Malik Monk, whatever it be, the Kings have got to find it on this stretch of basketball, because this stretch of basketball, we've gone over it a ton. It is no joke as I pull up the schedule for you right now. The Kings going to be hosting Memphis tonight. And then from Memphis, you go Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, Boston, Oklahoma City, That Boston-Oklahoma City matchup, that's a back-to-back, by the way. And then you close up the homestand with Portland, and then this is brutal. You get 1 day to travel all the way across the country, 1 day, and then you're playing Orlando on the 29th. So the season is flying by. Sand through the fingertips, as some famous soap opera used to say. And here's where the standings look. And it's such an odd year because teams are backing their way into the play-in, and you hate to see it. And I hope this team can find a way to hit their stride, but you also hope that Phoenix cannot continue winning basketball games. They play tonight. We'll keep track of that game. They're at home against Toronto. And then Dallas, Anthony Davis, he is headed to the G League affiliate of the Mavericks to begin rehab, possibly trying to get back on the court. Can the Mavs stay relevant in that top 10? And then from there, I don't think it really matters. The Kings are probably going to be locked into 9-10 unless something crazy happens. But we have seen crazier things. We thought the season was over when Mike Brown was fired, and look at where the Kings are at now. And if you want to take a sip out of that glass that's half full, you can remember this. The Kings traditionally play up to the level of their competition. That coin has two sides. Just as they can play down to their level of competition, they can play up. So a big game indeed for the Kings tonight here in Sacktown. If you are going to the game, let us know. If you are watching from someplace outside of Sacktown, let us know as well. You're welcome to call the show as well. Yeah, Karen, I have no idea who hacked the show and put that. Is that a dance clip? I mean, what kind of owner would dance at a time like this? Where the fan base is a little bit worried. I'm worried, actually, that if the Kings come out and dig themselves a hole, you're going to hear some boo birds. I think that is very feasible. In this starting lineup, can they get some chemistry together? I mean, we just need to see something. The effort was not there in Phoenix. The effort, debatably, was there before. Have we seen the true Kings effort since Los Angeles? Remember, everybody said that was just the shot to the mid-range. That was the shot, like just the kick in the gut for Kings fans, that you lose that way in overtime against Kawhi Leonard. Well, they've lost 3 straight since then. So hopefully they can move on from it. It's about time you shaved your mug. I'm glad you keep track of those things, Haunted Horse. Damn, bro. You keep track of whether I shave or not? Good to know. We're going to have section 123 rocking tonight. Love it, Sea Life Bro. Good stuff. Want Ryan to grow a mullet. Now, here's the problem with Ryan growing, and I don't mean to go third person. Here's the problem with me growing a mullet. I've got really goofy hair. It just wouldn't come out right. Like, if you're expecting this like flowing amount of hair, glorious, complete party in the back and business up top, it doesn't work that way here. But Grant and I have shaved our heads, by the way. We raised $16,000 for charity. That was a pretty cool little event. Go Kings. Yes, indeed. Lower bowl. Lamb's going to be at the game. Okay. I see you, Lamb. You going to have your headphones on too? Lamb has been trying to get up here and be creative with his takes, which I respect. Donald, I agree. We've seen the Kings lose to bad teams, and they've also beat some good teams. They play to their level. Well, here's the wild card in all this. One thing that has been the secret sauce, if you want to say, for the Kings has been turning defense into offense. It's been pace. It's been chaos. And that's usually even last game to a degree when the Kings the starters dug themselves a hole in the first quarter, which, by the way, every time, I know I gave you the numbers earlier, every time Phoenix turned the ball over, they made the Kings pay for it. In that first quarter, 5 turnovers. Phoenix had 10 points off of those 5 turnovers. But the secret sauce is when the Kings muck the game up, when you get Keon in there, when you get Jake in there, when you get some different cross matches, you get guys that can switch a little easier than you can on the starting lineup. And you know what also that means? The pace goes up. Usually when this team plays well, the pace is up. However, if you look at the pace numbers, since the All-Star break, the Kings are near the bottom in the NBA in pace, and it makes sense because of what's happening offensively. It's a lot of standing around. It's a lot of isolation basketball. The Kings are their own worst enemies when it comes to tiring out their opponents. Opponents don't usually need to guard. Unless you are guarding the ball, there's not much risk of your guy doing anything. Cutting backdoor, constant movement, getting to the hoop. So I want to see that change. And I know Doug Christie is big, really big on teaching guys how to play instead of teaching them a play. This offense needs some more structure. When this offense is structured, you see guys like Keegan Murray excel. You see guys like Keon Ellis get more looks, and that still does not mean that it takes away from Zach LaVine. And are you worried? I guess I'll ask the question, are any of you worried about Zach LaVine? You know, he had the career low in shot attempts a couple of games ago, and then last game at halftime, he had only had 6 or 7 shot attempts. He ends up doing okay because he scored a lot of points in the fourth quarter when the game was out of control, but is that something that you are a little bit worried about? Haunted Horse chiming in again. Wizards Trailblazers is the really big game tonight. Game of the year. Yeah, the game of the year, Haunted Horse, for sure.
That's terrible.
No doubt, dude. Like, what are ducats to that game going for? Like $2? $2 get you in the door at that game? Come on. The Kings have to find a way to muster up a win. It's got to start somewhere. And you're not at, again, I go back to this. I hate the thought of backing into the play-in, but something dramatic would have to happen for the Kings to fall out of the play-in. But when you look at the schedule coming up for the Kings, when is that win going to come that stops this streak? It's either going to be tonight or it's probably going to be Thursday. Cleveland, we have not seen them all year. Cleveland is a beast of a different animal. They are so efficient. We talk about the defense here in Sacramento sometimes being on a string. That team is on a string. That team's chemistry is something that I haven't seen in a very long time, and it's a different kind of chemistry. Yeah, I know everybody in the chat's going to be like, what about Golden State? What about the Kings in 2002? It's just everybody knows their role on that team. And that team has such a lack of wasted movement, which it seems really elementary and not that important when we sit here and talk about it. But when you see them in person and the way they play, it just jumps off the page. Like, we worry about the Kings and the way they close out now. Wait till you see Cleveland come in here. And Donovan Mitchell, Kenny Atkinson has done a great job with that team, number one. But Donovan Mitchell taking a little bit of a step back and actually making his game go forward because of that has just been incredible. So anyways, that win's got to come somewhere. It's got to come somewhere. I hope it comes tonight. I don't think the Kings match up too bad with the Grizz. I really don't. I think that the matchup is okay, but you got to hope that they bring it in front of the home crowd. You got to win this one tonight. Break the 4-game streak. Get it over with. Flores, Ryno, light the mother beam. I like it. What's up, dude? John Finch, go Blazers? Finchy, why do you want the Blazers to win, Finch? Because a haunted horse? I mean, is that what we're doing now, Finchy? Finchy, you have your own sound drops around here now. And I'm going to drop one on you, Finch. Come on, Finch.
John, what the hell are you doing?
What are you doing, John? What are you doing? Let's start Monk, Levine, DeMar. You always start Monk, Levine, DeMar. That's what the starter lineup has been. Still lacking a point guard, no doubt about it. It's the glue that ties the team together. Now, I want to make Grant and I, we make a big deal about the Kings lacking a point guard. Let's also be clear. You don't bring in a point guard and this thing's a championship team. It's not that kind of fix, but the fluidity of the offense, I would challenge you. Go look at what Colin Gillespie has brought to Phoenix in the last 5 games since he's gotten some time. You saw him just last game. He just kind of ties things together. So let's go to the phones. Oh, it's my man Dennis. What's up, Dennis?
Yo, Ryno, what's going down?
None much, buddy. What you doing?
Getting ready for this excuse fest we're gonna get from the Kings tonight.
Yeah, are you tired of that, by the way?
Yeah, it's just like I go back to the Mike Brown clips. I go back to I handcuffed the team. I did this to the team. I did, it's just like, and that's where we get to the terminology of like Kings like purgatory. It's like we can't get past this point for some reason. It was like we're stuck here. It's like, oh well, I got to start Monk because we won games with Monk. Well, we've won games with Keon starting too. And Monk gives us more off the bench than Keon ever does. So like I don't get why he doesn't see the balance in that. But I get Grant and I love Grant pointing that out, the stubbornness of that in him, being a rookie coach. He's gonna, force his issue, force his way, and then we're gonna get these slow starts. We're gonna get these 22 3-pointers a night on us, and somebody having either a career high or a season high on us, and it's like, hey, here we are. When Keon was starting, even with the losses, at least we felt something. The team felt us. The overtime loss, they felt us. The Denver loss was like, the refs, but still, they felt us. But now we go to Monk, it's 120-something points a night, 20-something 3-pointers a night, and, it's just back to welcome to Sacramento Kings Matador, Ryno. We're back to where we started, Ryno.
So really quick, Dennis, I get what you're saying, and a couple small points. The first is, if I'm Doug Christie, this is my blank canvas. What the hell do I have to lose? You're probably not falling out of the play-in. This is when I'm trying to, I'm doing it my way, as Grant said the other night on his rant. I'm trying new things. I'm putting my signature on stuff because what's the downside? It works. What we're doing right now is not working, right? So that's confusing to me. And I think there's this misconception about Malik Monk being the problem in the starting lineup. It's not. The problem in the starting lineup is you have 2 guys that are the exact same players in Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Now, they're not problems individually, but you put them out on the court together without a true point guard, it really screws up what you do defensively. Because if you put Keon on the floor with Malik Monk, it gives you so much more ability to switch. It gives you a better ability to hide one of those 2 guys defensively. And so that's where it's like kind of mind-blowing to me. And that's why you see the big difference when Keon comes in, and he comes in so early, because you're able to open up a few more doors defensively. It's just, if I'm Doug Christie, one of those 2, and I don't care, I know I'm going to ruffle somebody's feathers, quite frankly, I'm probably putting DeMar on the bench and bringing him off as the 6th man, because if I'm looking at how stuff's lining up right now, you don't think DeMar DeRozan's going to probably look at his situation at the end of this year and recalibrate and say, well, is this really where I want to spend my next couple of years? We know there's reports that Sabonis is going to do it. So if you're going to piss one guy off, don't piss off the one that's got the crazy contract that you're tied to.
No, I take that and all its fruition, but then it goes back down to coaching. And it's like, I know you're going to be here, and I just need you to go ahead and trust me. And you already been the runner-up six man of the year. Like, I know I got that in you. Where Keon, we know what Keon does, and he brings the defense. So when I feel like you want Monk and Keon out there and Keegan out there, that's crazy defense. But to have more balance, I feel like Levine, DeMar, Keegan, and Keon with Domas out there, and Domas triple double. Like, I feel we have more synergy in
But
that.
who's running, Dennis? Who's running the pick and roll? That's what your offense is centered around. Who's running the pick and roll? Keon?
Well, we have the picks off of DeMar, and then not DeMar, sorry, Domas with ISO into DeMar, and then spray it out to whoever's open, Levine or Keon or Keegan. So now, because you have more shooting out there now, because Monk, it's just his shooting is just his 0 of 8 from 3 shooting is just atrocious, and it's just
I hear
like
you.
that's not it's not. You can't maintain that,
So,
Ryno.
so
And I honestly want my best shooters out there with DeMar. I got DeMar, ISO, Sabonis pick and roll, action with him and DeMar. And then DeMar doesn't like it. Obviously, he's been getting 5 assists a game. I mean, not a game, but over the stretch, he's been popping a lot of 5 assists for games for us, where I feel he can just spray it out to Keegan, Keon, or even back to Sabonis. And then you still have Levine. So it's like you have more spread, where I feel like Monk is not there yet. And he'll get there when he's like back in January, like we talked about earlier, when he was dumping like 20 something points a game. But right now he's not there yet. So it's like how many games he has to get back there, we got to take off. And
I hear you.
it's that point. It was like, can we lose those many games to get him back to that point?
I hear you. You know what I'm starting to feel from you? That you're thinking it's time to burn it down.
So anyway, back to that point. Yeah, I was looking at getting a puppy after tonight's loss. I'm getting desperation. Like, right now, I gotta find another outlet now, because I love my passion for the Kings, but at this point, it's just like, I was like, how can you, rack your brains against the same fucking? Sorry, I didn't mean to drop an F-bomb. Same problem, that we've already had this earlier this season. It's purgatory. We're back in purgatory.
That's why I'm saying, I don't think you caught the sound drop. You want to burn it down. That's what you want to do. You're just like, let's burn it down.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, it's just, what can you do? What can you do, Ryno? The coach don't want to change. He doesn't want to progress on the 3 good games we had versus the 3 worst games we had, and he wants to chalk it up to rust or I can't control that. Well,
The excuses are out of control.
Yeah, it's like, coach, you're the coach. Bring him off the bench. Limit his minutes. You're the coach. So don't tell me you can't control that.
Brother, I will level with you. I'll talk about that here for a second. Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate you. Love you too, dude. All right, I'll level with Dennis here. And I don't know if you all caught that reference, but there's a lot of talk right now in town about fans being okay with burn it down and just starting from scratch, getting rid of pieces, which, by the way, getting rid of pieces is not going to be as easy as you think if that's the route that you want to go. But I do have to push back a little bit on Doug Christie, and I don't want to sit here and sound or try to appear like I'm some basketball savant, that I could coach the Sacramento Kings, that I know better than anybody in that building. I don't. But I'm also not being honest if I'm not giving you the other reality. I said this on the 2:00 show. Doug Christie talking about guys learning different terminology in different sets and different plays. A lot of the Kings sets are one-word things. So for a switch, it's red. 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 That means you're switching. Okay? Red. Offensively, some very simple stuff. What I'm telling you is it's not the National Football League where it's X wing, Z wiggle, L zip, 35 right, 14 snap on 9. It's not that kind of stuff. And with basketball, a lot of the defensive sets that teams run, very similar base sets. Now, the different little abbreviations, adjustments, those are different depending on the team. Some teams drop down more, some teams don't. So I guess what I'm saying is, even though you bring in new pieces, I think there's being a little bit more poured into the fans' minds, especially when Doug's spoken in the media about trying to get these guys integrated. We are how many games past the trade? How many games? It should have been done by now. So that's kind of a buyout. That's an excuse, and I don't think that's fair to you guys whatsoever. Let's go back to the phones. Let's bring in Tay. What's up, Tay? Tay, you there? Going once, Tay. Tay, come on, Tay. Tay, you're going to break my heart. You're not there. I was looking forward to talking to Tay. What the heck? All right, back to the chat. Okay. This is not Craigslist for pets. We're not pet shopping here and making deals. What do they say on Craigslist? 'Cause you can't sell them for money. It's like, what is it? Like bones or roses or something? Come on. By the way, this is a big dog house. It's not a cat house. Not a cat house. Getting back to Kings basketball. Yes, I was trying to mess with you. Sets stink. Okay, I disagree with you. I think sets are what this team needs. You look, this whole free flowing idea of offense, brilliant, great. But guys have to the chemistry has to be off the charts, and you need to have been playing with those same teammates for a decent amount of time. And that's not happened with this group since the trade. So you got to meet somewhere in the middle. You are look, the Kings have never, ever had that player. They haven't. You are. But where are your draft picks at? You know, honestly, we're a mess, but we have been working on this team for years and have a ton of talent, a couple of moves. And yeah, Nick, I gotta go the other way, buddy. I don't think you're a couple of moves, unless a couple of moves means Giannis is coming to the Kings or Kawhi is coming to the Kings, and that's saying he could stay healthy. Let's go back to the phone. Okay, don't break my heart again, Tay. Don't do it.
Hey Ryno, how you doing?
What's up, Tay?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi was bad, so it just got disconnected.
All good, dude. I know the feeling. It happened to me earlier.
Yeah. So I think, we've seen the story over and over again. Kings, give up a lead and go down by 16 or 18 points in the first quarter or second quarter, and then, they work so hard to climb back up, and usually it, ends up not being enough. I think if Doug Christie continues to be stubborn and doesn't end up starting Keon Ellis, I think what I would like to see from him is, as soon as your team goes down by 4 or 6 points sometime in the first quarter, even though the score may be something like 4-10, call a timeout, bring in Keon Ellis and Jake LaRavia, and maintain a 6-point deficit at most. Don't let it get out of the hand in the first quarter, because oftentimes that's how we lose the game. And it is so hard to come back from 12 or 14 point leads against great teams.
Well, Tay, you know what? You break it. First off, the second point you made is excellent. This team is not built to be able to come from behind, especially with not only the percentage they're shooting the three ball at, but the attempts. They're only shooting 32 last game, 32 three balls. So you have to play from ahead. You got to have a lead and keep it for most of the game or be within a couple points. And as to your suggestion about bringing Keon in as soon as a team gets a lead, it's a fine line, right? Like he's already coming in. He is usually in the game. Watch your TVs tonight. By 7:42 in the first quarter, Keon Ellis will be in the game. But at what point though are you just kind of slapping the face of the guy that you're starting and then bringing out of the game after 3.5 minutes? It's like cut the cord. Just do it.
Yeah, I think it also depends on momentum. So, if the opposing team goes on a 8-0 run, for instance, then I think you need to cut the cord. Whereas if it's, a smaller run, then maybe you kind of ride out the momentum. But I think the point I wanted to make is the Kings cannot be, playing, from behind
You're right.
every single night against good teams, because more often than not, they're not gonna come back from that type of hole, and it just exerts so much effort on them. So I think Doug needs to really be careful not to give up big leads in the first quarter.
Yep. Hey, think back to the Oklahoma City game in OKC. The Kings were competitive. The game was within a couple points. And then there was an extended delay. I forget what it was for. I think it was a clock issue. And Oklahoma City went on a run and the game was done.
Mm-hmm.
Done. And
Yeah.
that's the quality of opponent that's coming up on this homestand between them, Boston, Cleveland. The same rules are in effect. One run and done. Unfortunately, that's how good these teams are.
Yeah, agreed.
So thanks, Tay. I appreciate the call.
All right, thanks, Ryno.
All right, we've got the Memphis information up. We're going to talk about some keys to this one in just 1 second. I'm a little bit curious about this call. Not sure how I feel about this call. I hope this call proves me wrong. Charles White. What's up, Charles?
Hey Ryan, can you hear me?
I got you.
Earlier in the stream, you were saying I did like your idea on how you were saying to bring DeRozan off the bench, and he is turning 36. Does he have a player option for his contract?
No, he does. He's got a weird contract. So next year is guaranteed, and then there is some type of sliding scale or quasi option in the third year. I don't know the exact terms of it though.
So he's like under contract though. He can. It's not a player option, like 100%.
I'm looking at it right now for you. Give me 2 seconds, Charles. As my computer takes forever. So DeMar next year is. Come on, computer. It's the website. DeMar, no option whatsoever next year. No.
Okay, I was wondering why they didn't move him to the bench with him and Levine being the same exact player, but I guess that makes a little more sense now.
Well, here's let me give you the flip side of the coin with Levine. Levine, I mean, I'm sure you know, not a lot of teams were willing to take on his salary, and it's not because there isn't a possibility of him playing up to that ability and that salary, but the injury concerns. The guy has played, rarely does he play 82 games a year, and here's the flip side of that too, is he's had falling outs with coaches. He's a little bit tricky at times to deal with. Him and Billy Donovan at one point in Chicago, we're not talking. And DeMar DeRozan was the go-between. He was the conduit between Levine and Donovan. So with a guy whose contract and a guy who also, he has an option in 26-27 for 48.9. I guess I am going to, as an organization, if I am being strategic and I'm saying which guy would I rather piss off, it's probably DeMar, even though the output from DeMar is a little bit better.
Okay, so you wouldn't build around Zach?
Well, I'm not against building around Zach, but I need to. His basketball IQ has been far below par for me.
I
Some
agree
of
with that. The
these
fourth quarter stuff and him not aware of the clock is so bad.
the nightly turnovers that are telegraphed that people watching at home can see from a mile away coming. It's just you're too good to be making those mistakes.
Yeah.
Too good.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Good call there. Glad he proved me wrong. Sometimes the long screen names worry me. Donald, what's up, dude?
Hey, Ryan, can you hear me at all?
Gotcha, brother.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. I mean, besides not just looking at the assist stats, how would you rate the Kings as a passing team?
Right now, terrible.
Yeah, it seems like when I watch the games, I notice that a lot of teams play up on the Kings, especially on whoever's handling the ball. You know, they press. Other teams press, and I noticed other teams they try to cheat defensively. There's always a third guy watching the pick and rolls, and it's like teams are daring the Kings to pass it across court on the other side of the court.
Because they know that guys are not cutting, guys are staying stagnant. You're absolutely right. And that's why I keep saying that you got to make teams play on both sides of the ball, and the Kings simply are not doing that. And so, and here's the other thing, Donald, more times than not, in fact, there's nothing in the middle. The Kings can make a pass to a teammate and it gets there and it's not a turnover, but it's a bad pass. It's at their feet. It's over their head. It's outside of their shooting pocket. Rarely is it something in the middle. Or they make a perfect pass where it's spot on and somebody's stepping into a shot. It couldn't have been passed better out of a machine. But they don't set up each other very well whatsoever. And Doug Christie said it, I want to say maybe a month and a half ago. He's like, when you get an advantage, you got to do your best to make sure that you keep that advantage and pass it along to your teammates. So if you're Zach LaVine, if you're Malik Monk, and you get by somebody, make sure you give the guy, if you're spraying it out, a good pass that's right there. I dare everybody tonight to watch Keegan Murray. A lot of people talk about Keegan missing wide open shots. Watch where Keegan gets the ball on a lot of these shots. If the ball is right there in his shooting pocket, more times than not, that shot's going in. If he's got to reach down, if he's got to go up or to the side, a lot of times it goes out. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for Keegan. He needs to make those shots too. But you can tell the passing is a huge part of this.
Yeah, a lot of passes right at the feet.
Yep.
And but I also noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but during some plays or some sets, I do notice some cutters that are open, but it's either the player is not looking, doesn't see it, or just doesn't see it. I see cutters once in a while. It's like open, they're open, but the ball just can't get it. And the same thing with Sabonis in the post. When there's a mismatch, and he's like, okay, other teams would just seem like they take advantage of that so flawlessly, why the Kings just can't seem to get a player the ball in the post.
Well, okay, so you're correct there, but many times the Kings, in my opinion, only are looking for one thing. They don't have like a quarterback dropping back to pass. They've got their hot route. They've got their first look, their second look. Sometimes it appears the Kings only have one look, and they're finding a way to try to get it to that look, whether it's swinging it around, whether it's making a bad pass that gets turned over. And when you say cutting occasionally, you got to be cutting all the time. This offense doesn't work unless there's constant motion. So good stuff, man. I appreciate you, Donald.
All right, Ryan.
Good stuff. All right, we're getting you ready for the Kings and the Grizz. Lineup alert from Dennis. There you go. I would expect you might see a double big lineup at some point. And if the Kings pack the paint tonight, and leave Wells open. If there's a wide open shot for Wells in the first 2 minutes, I very well might not have a TV to watch the game on tonight. Just saying. So, all right, let's look at what the Grizz do well, what the Grizz don't do well, where I think is going to be some areas of concern. This is where it starts. We were talking about it earlier on the show. It is pace. The Grizzlies are number 1 in the NBA in pace. Number 1. The Kings, 17th in the NBA in pace. Now, the Kings can play up tempo, and that's normally with that second unit, but I need to see some more up tempo from that first unit. I need to see something more than vanilla. Hell, give me the half chocolate, half vanilla. Give me Spumoni. I would be so happy. So who's going to win the battle of pace? And can the Kings play at a high pace without turning the ball over? Some of these things go without saying. The Kings can't have the turnovers that they've had. Just straight up. You can't turn the ball over at that rate. I want to see the Kings also turn the Grizzlies over. I think that's possible. The Grizz actually 28th in the NBA in turnovers. Turn up the pressure, push them out. You've got the guys to do it. Jake LaRavia, Keon Ellis, Malik can do it to a degree. So push them out. Devin Carter as well. And then also the boards. Can the Kings win the boards, specifically keeping Memphis off the offensive boards? You can only let them have one attempt. They are second in the NBA at offensive rebounding. So those are the areas where I think tonight's going to be one. And then obviously defending the 3 ball. Very important as well. As we bring you back in, getting you ready to send you out for the Kings and the Grizz. Happy St. Patrick's Day. If you happen to be in the area, don't forget that Bennett's is doing St. Patty's Day corned beef and cabbage at all of their locations tonight. Might be a little too late to order the family meals to go because there was only a select quantity, but get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can see more about all 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. Big thanks to Brian and the team for sponsoring us here on the pregame show. Also, don't forget, this is just the start of our coverage tonight. Jerry Reynolds is with us at the half. Grant and I wrap up the night for you with the postgame show. Keep the calls coming. We love all the calls. If you're one of those people that's thought about calling and has not picked up the phone to do it, do it. Do it. We'd love to hear from you. More times than not, it turns out well. All right, let's get you out to the game. Jerry, Grant, myself, back with you in 24 minutes. Hopefully, we are talking about a good first half for the Kings, a clean first half. Here's another key. Kings cannot win the basketball game unless they have 28 or more assists. 28 or more assists. Go Kings, light the damn beam. We'll see you in 24 minutes. So long.